Stage. What's up, YouTube? Make sure everybody hear me. Using a new streaming service. I was using OB, but we're coming in using a new one, so I want to make sure everything is good. Today we have a special guest coming on the stage, but before we get into our guests, we will talk charts for a couple minutes, and then we'll bring on our guests. You do not want to miss this one. So I go by FD White, aka Crypto Funds, back with a live stream, a very special live stream, man. So this is one I've been looking forward to. This is my guy. He's been helping me since the bear market, and we're gonna jump into it. But let's talk about the crypto market really quick. So Bitcoin right now is still in this range. Let's actually have here. Let me actually stop this. So Bitcoin right now is just ranging in this range. We're gonna go through this really quickly, and then we're gonna bring our guest on. Bitcoin at the top of the range is at about 52,500, 52,600. Bottom of the range is at about 50,600, 50,700. So right now we're just ranging. We're just literally ranging in between this range. And if you know me, everybody who's been, following my community, following my calls, I'm just looking at ranges. I'm just looking at, sometimes I look at patterns, but for the most part, I'm just looking at ranges, looking at, Bitcoin take the stairs up and the elevator down sometimes. So that's what I'll be looking at. Couple other things to go over. We saw Uniswap have a nice pop today of about 50%. And then we had a couple more coins that, did some things. But we're not going to go over that. We're going to go over that in a later video. Right now, I want to bring up my guy to the stage, Rob, Digital Asset News. Welcome to the stage, Rob.
FD, it's been a long time coming. How long
Yes,
have we
sir.
been talking about this? How long have we been going back and forth?
We've been going back and forth. It's been a minute. I know, I came into your chat, to your live stream. This had to be in the depths of the bear market over a year ago. And then we just started to, form this, cool relationship, man. And I just appreciate you. You're one of the few that actually, embraced a small YouTuber like myself. And I just, then you brought me on your live stream. You featured me on your live stream. And I'm gonna tell you a quick story, then I'm gonna let you get into it. So when you did that, I was actually picking up my son. You didn't even tell me. You didn't tell me you were gonna do it. I just happened to I'm sitting there in the parking lot. Let me pop open YouTube. So not 5 minutes in, I'm watching your stream, and then I say, FD White, what's going on here? And then you go over, the video that I had, about putting it on your mind and manifesting it, speaking it to existence. And Rob, I haven't had a grown man almost made me cry in a long time, so I appreciate it, man. I was getting a little, I don't know if it was the wind hitting my eyes or something, but it really touched me, man. And I just want to, sincerely thank you for that moment. And it was just like, it was one of those times too where YouTube was getting kind of tough, and that just, helped me to keep going. So thank you for that.
Well, it was a great story. I mean, you pretty much put it out there and said, like, look, there's going to be hard times, there's going to be good times, but you have to keep persevering. You have to, put it out there and say, like, this is what I want to have happen. And I'm like, this is the kind of things that people need to realize that, it ain't easy. And if you don't have that type of conviction to put it out there, then you're never going to make it. And that's why we talked about it. And then we talked a little bit here and there, and you said, hey, get on the channel. I'm like, sure. It's a good channel, man. You should have more subscribers. You should have more subscribers, man. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'll get there. It's just one of those things where we got to get that algorithm going. You know what I mean? Once that algorithm gets to pumping you out, then
that's right. You gotta, yeah. Here's what you gotta do. Just do like all the crazy dumb videos, which is this one's going to $1 billion tomorrow. And then of course,
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of, I went to my community, like the community is growing slowly, but it's growing. And my community loves me for not doing that. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
we'll just build it organically and build it, one by one. I think, in building businesses in the past, I have seen that those type of businesses last longer, the ones you build brick by brick, over time with a loyal following, a loyal cult,
Mhm.
following, as opposed to the ones who just overnight success. So we'll keep it moving. I'm thinking I'll get up there.
You get up there. Hey, you know
Yeah.
what? I was just thinking about this because my channel, if you look at the 4-year cycles, right?
Mhm.
The 4-year cycles, it always goes halving, then a dip. No, excuse me, halving, all-time high, then a dip and a reset. So we see that in 2016, we have a halving. And then 2017, all-time high. Then 2018, we get a big dip. Then 2019, a reset. Then 2020, halving, all-time high, dip, reset. If we go back 4 years, this was essentially when I started my channel, around this time. It was actually December of 2019. So if you fast forward that, you're looking at roughly December 2023. And I didn't have any, I remember I did a live stream and it was me talking to me, and that was it. And I was like, well, that
Yeah.
sucks. But that's just how it was. But then nothing really started to take off until after the halving. So like right
Mm.
now, I think like your channel, FD, your channel is in the right place at the right time to really capitalize when people start to flood in, because they all are looking for a voice of reason. That's not ridiculous. You're gonna get the ridiculous stuff, but that's why I think this can do pretty well. Just time.
Okay. Yeah, just time. Yeah, thank you, thank you. So for those who don't know, who Rob is, if they've been, living under a rock, digital asset news. You've been in the space for a minute. You've garnered hundreds of thousands of subscribers,
Uh,
over all platforms and whatnot. How did you get involved in crypto? If you can give us a quick, short summary, like I'm really interested to see how some of the more successful people have started their journey into crypto. So if you can give us a quick, rundown of how you got started.
yeah. First of all, this will be good because everybody looks at people who are in crypto, have been in it for a long time, like they're geniuses. They're not geniuses. Some of them just got lucky, and some of them just were stubborn. That's really what it comes down to. Here's a great thing, a great story how I got into it. 2012, the son comes home from school. Hey, I got this kid. He's got a hard drive, and he's selling 500 Bitcoin for $500. And this is in 2012. And I go, okay, great. And I said, what's a Bitcoin? And when you first get into Bitcoin, you try to explain Bitcoin, you sound like a train wreck. You're like, well, it's decentralized and it's outside the system, and this thing happens here and this and that. And I was like, Alan, that makes no sense. That'll never take off. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to buy 500 Bitcoin for $500. And then I think it was like a month later, like China banned it. China always bans everything. And I was
Right.
like, see what I tell you. And of course, we all know how that worked out. So that was my first foray into crypto. So again, when people are like, "Oh, I knew it the whole time," no, they didn't. They're full of it. Even Michael Saylor, around that same time in 2013, he put out a tweet that said, "It looks like Bitcoin is dying a slow death of all gambling online sites." And of course,
Mm.
that's Michael Saylor. So fast forward to 2017, then I hear about it again, and I'm like, "What? It's $8,000? That doesn't sound right." What was it at the beginning of the year? $1,000. Maybe I should get into it. Number go up, right? And what did
Right.
I do? Wrote it all the way up. And then, of course, I'm a genius because I'm so smart because I figured this out. And what I do, wrote it all the way down because everybody told me it's going to 1 million. I remember John McAfee said it's going to 1 million. And if it doesn't go to 1 million, I'll eat my own blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this guy's, and then, of course, everybody said the same thing. And of course, I mean, you go up from like 10,000% up to now you're down by 80%. What the heck happened? And that was me. That was the first foray into Bitcoin and crypto. And then, of course, you start to do the research, you start to realize what it's all about. You start to learn about monetary policy and quantitative easing and quantitative tightening and the Cantillon effect. And you start to say to yourself, wow, there's something really to this besides just the number go up. And that's when you get people who are just the tourists to become the evangelicals. And those are the ones that stick around for a long time. That doesn't happen to everybody. But now here we are.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's so. I didn't even know that. I know you came in around 2017, and then just like a newbie, We rode it
Yeah.
up, then rode it down. Same thing with me last bull market. I rode it all the way up. You know, I'm walking around with sunglasses all day. I'm feeling cool, feeling good. You know what I mean? And then one
Mhm.
day we got that first dip. Well, it was actually the two dips. You know, we got that first dip
Oh yeah, yeah,
after
yeah.
the Coinbase IPO, where I felt
Hmm.
like my life was, I was, you know, my life was flashing before my eyes. But
Right.
then we got a nice little pump going into Q3, Q4, and then we all thought it was going to 100,000. We all thought it was going to, you know, these astronomical numbers, and then we got the, you know, the rollover in 2022. So, you know, everybody, you know, it's usually people get it takes a cycle or two to you know, fully grasp what's actually going on. So yeah, definitely.
No, it's true. And then, hey, this was 2021. Did you, did you hear, was it always like buy the dip and diamond hands? Was that
Diamond Hands was the number one thing. Diamond Hands
oh,
and Win Lambo. It was Diamond Hands and Win Lambo. That was the two things that you, and Laser Eyes. So those are
mm,
the things that everybody was, you know, just hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. So we know, you know, we all got caught up in it, caught up in the $100,000 thing. Like everybody was talking about it. All the influencers were talking about it. Nobody
I,
was talking about taking profits. Nobody was talking about these things. And that's why I gravitated towards your channel in the bear market, because of your approach, your DCA approach, your take profit approach. Even though you might get some hate from it, I feel that, because that's exactly what I'm thinking and how I'm going to you know, maneuver in this
yeah.
bull run. And that's why I want to bring you on to talk about some bull market tips, because I've been through a bull market and a bear market. You've been through a couple. So
Mhm.
I wanted to come and I wanted to ask your thoughts. Like, if you were to explain, let's say Bitcoin does start getting overheated at, well, not even overheated. Let's say it starts getting to those ridiculously high numbers, 80, 90, 100,000. How are you going to start putting out your material, or, you know, coming to your audience? Because, you know, a lot of people really look up to what we say, or they take our advice, or not financial advice, but they take what we say and they like really hold on to it. So how are you going to, you know, adapt when we get to these super FOMO times, as
So,
opposed, you know, when you're talking to your audience?
wow, that's a good question. And first of all, let's be transparent. In the last bull cycle, I was also calling for not 100,000 Bitcoin. I was calling for 150,000 Bitcoin. So I cannot sit up here and tell everybody that I knew it the whole time, because I was wrong just like everybody else. And then I said, okay, well, maybe it'll be 100,000. That seems reasonable. And of course, that we didn't even hit that. I think we topped out around 69.7 or 67.9, somewhere around there. That's just how it was. So now this will be coming into my third bull run. I will still screw it up. I will still make mistakes, and I will still not hit the very top to sell, and I still won't buy the very bottom. So I always say to myself, if I can just get to within 60%, I'm feeling pretty good. If you watch, there's a really good video done by Bob Lucas, and Bob Lucas is one of the OGs of crypto, and he really lays it out as far as the TA and really solid analysis. And he said, look, it could go a couple of ways. We could take a look at what's going to happen in the next run, and it could be a left transition bull rally, where essentially all that means is we could see the massive bull run go up, and that could be in 2024 instead of what everybody thinks of, which is what we talked about in the beginning, which is halving 2024, then all-time high 2025, then a dip in 2026, and then 2027 goes even lower. So he says it's either going to be one of those, or, and he said this same word, which I hate saying, it is going to be a hypercycle. Essentially what it means is, he's like, we could just go from 2024 and hit some really all-time highs, and then just keep going into an extended cycle in 2025 where it really goes below off. And he was talking like some numbers that were crazy, between 300 and 500K. I don't know what it's going to be, but I can't listen to that and go like that. Okay, I'm going to wait for the 500K to sell, because I've already done that route, and it really screwed things up. So here's what I will tell people. I have something on my screen. If you could pull that up, I'm going to show people what I did before and what I'm going to do this time. Okay. So right here, there's a link in the description of all my videos, and this is my old exit strategy. And really, what I did was I just said, okay, look, I'm going to take a look at the fractals of how much we did before Ethereum, Chainlink, Bitcoin, EOS, Cardano, and Theta. And I'm just going to overlay that and see what a price prediction could be. And I got to tell you, it's in some places didn't work out too great. Like I thought that the Ethereum, I thought, okay, for Ethereum, I think it can go to 10,000. So at the point when I made this, it was at 2,000. This was, again, back in 2020. So what I did was I said, I'm going to take profits at 20%. And what I try to do is stay away from round numbers, because when you go to round numbers, that's when everybody sells. You might have noticed this at the 40,000 level, 50,000 level. You're going to see it again at 60,
psychologically.
Yeah, psychologically. So what I'm going to do is, instead of taking that at 2,000, I'm going to say maybe 1,800 or 19. I said here 1993, which I didn't even really hit that well. I'm going to take 20% off the table, right? And if I've got, and what I want to do is I want to sell 80% of my entire altcoins, because you always want what Ben from Into the Cryptoverse calls a hodl bag. I said, okay, well, if I have a hodl bag and I sell 80%, let's say that I got 100 Ethereum. If I do 20, 20, 20, 20, that's 16 a piece. So I'd sell 20%, which means I'd sell 16 Ethereum with 32 grand. That's not bad, considering the fact that I bought Ethereum at like 100, 200 bucks back in the day of 2018. And then it went from here, 2,000, 48.68, which it didn't hit, and I missed out. And then I thought, well, maybe 7,000, 67.89, 89.92, and then 10,000, 95.81. Essentially, before it hits these 5 markers to hit the all-time high of 10,000, this is what I would do. Right. Horrible what happened. Now we go to Chainlink. And remember, Ethereum, I believe Ethereum topped out at 48.15. So I just missed the 48.68. Bad mistake on my part. Chainlink, I thought that Chainlink could go to $35. And Chainlink went to actually 51. This actually worked out pretty well. I got lucky. So I sold at 26, 28, 30, 32, and 35. But, FD, this is what I want to caution everybody who's listening. Even though you have a plan in place and you look at your plan, guess what Rob did? Rob said, you know what? If it went up to 30 so quickly, it could probably go to 70 then and 80. And guess what I did? Yeah. I didn't take profits. So exactly. The first 3 I did, 26, 20, and 30, but I held off and I didn't hit these 2 marks. Stupid. Should have done it. Bitcoin, and the same thing around. EOS was an awful prediction. The only one that I actually nailed pretty well was Cardano. I thought it would go to $3, and it went to $2.89 or $2.97. So that one worked out, but I still messed it up because I didn't take the profits at the end. Okay, so that was the old one, and people are welcome to do those things. But here's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to do a little bit more of indicators and kind of go from there. We were doing a show yesterday. It was me and a guy from Coin Bureau and Ben in the Cryptoverse, and he's got this great piece on his site, and he uses these time and risk bands. And pretty much what he says, let me bring up something else actually, because the time and risk bands are just essentially the history of what Bitcoin has been in a price range for so much time. So like here, time.
And this is on the free version of his website, or just the paid version?
Some of this is paid and some of this is free. I think some of these are free, but the stuff like the like the DCA tools, no, the DCA tools are free. Excuse me, and this one is not free. This one is not free. So as I'm sharing this, don't tell Ben I showed you this. How about that? So here's the thing. So the price ranges. This is Bitcoin, and you can do this for everything, like ETH, ADA, BNB, XRP, Sol, Link, DOT, right? Let's use Bitcoin. Check this out. I'm going to go to the range of the highest, 0.9 to 1.0. What do you notice? It nails it pretty good. It doesn't hit the top, though. Like in 2017, the price, it went from 16.5 to 19. Okay. Over here, price was 1,000, but it went to 1,500, so not too well. And this one over here, it went to 57.6. and 56. So it was still off by 10K, but again, are you going to hit that? I'm not for sure. I'm not going to do it. So what Ben was talking about is like, he's like, look, what I do is very simple. He goes from 0.4 to 0.6. He goes, I'm not doing anything. He goes, what I'll do is I'll sell when it goes into these bands, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. And I'll buy when it goes into these bands, 0.2, 0.1, and 0.0. And that's pretty much it for him in Bitcoin. So I was like, okay, like I can do that. And then we can do that with other like Ethereum or like ADA. But what I say it all starts off with is this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this one, the Pi Cycle Top. I'm sure we've talked about this some way along the lines. Pi Cycle Top, I feel like it's where everything kind of starts with Bitcoin. And if you're like, well, I don't want to use Ben's site, well, just go to lookintobitcoin.com. It's free, 100% free, and you can get this Pi Cycle Top. And what this is let me bring this up. So it's the 11-day moving average over the 350-day moving average times 2. And we can see that once it's not perfect, and this is also retrospectively looking back. It's not like it's forward looking.
Right.
So like here, it hit it at 16. Was this 16.6? No, this actually did
19.
Yeah.
Oh, so it pretty much almost nailed it.
Yeah, man, that's pretty good, right? But again, this is, whoops, let me reset that. This is just Bitcoin. And for this one, between 960 and 1,000, not bad. Didn't hit the ultimate top, but pretty good. But then coming over here, let me blow this up. Because once they cross over, and it happens, it's only happened 4 or 5 times. 63,446. Hey, that's not bad. I'll take that. So like when I look at this, I'm not 100% sure, but when I'm going to sell out, I want to take a look at this first and say, okay, well, that's a good indicator. That's leading me into the direction of probably selling some Bitcoin, or I could do what Ben does, which I'm probably going to do. And then there's some other ones that I take a look at. And again, if you wanted, this is a free website. Look into Bitcoin. It's .com. It's fantastic. We can do the NUPL, the net unrealized profit and losses. And what I love about these charts is that it makes it branded. I'm not that smart, man. I need colors. And when it's colorful, I know I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that means. So like this one, yeah. So like you have the realized value for market value. That's the unrealized profit and loss, right? So like here you can see that like it's pretty good to show you sometimes to accumulate. I mean, even back in 6,000 isn't bad in 2018, but look at this, 4,700 to 36 to 30 to 41. Yeah, I can get behind that. That's good. And then it did it again over here in March 17th. That was during the cerveza sickness.
Yeah.
And then it did it again over here as far as like buying. But then look at this. As far as like to sell, when it gets in this red top off zone, it's not perfect, right? It says 16,000 would have been a good time to actually between 13,000 and 18.9. That's a pretty wide range, but it kind of reaffirms if you're looking at the Pi Cycle Top and the NUPL.
But kind of get some type of confluence with those.
Right. And then same thing here. It didn't even hit this point, right? It barely touched it at 57. And then you can use that. I use the MVRVZ score. Again, same thing. And the pull multiple, which is just Bitcoin miners and their revenue as they sell off. So again, colors makes things easy. And that's pretty much where I'm leaning towards and moving forward. And then for the alts, I'm using the time and risk bands, but using the different alts that are here and going from there. That was a long explanation. Sorry.
No, it's definitely informative. That's why, I stayed and I let you talk. But do you think, a lot of people have a lot of indicators. They use a lot of momentum indicators and whatnot to try to time tops and time bottoms. I was actually on Crypto Blood's channel last week, and we were talking about things like this, and we were also talking about sentiment and when we can sense FOMO and just peak FOMO starting to set in. In retrospect, it's like, oh, when these people start talking about it, like we know, something's we need to start, scaling out, so to say, not selling all of it, but we can kind of our radar will start to go off. So, do you think sentiment outweighs technicals, or will you even incorporate sentiment when you start to DCA out? Because I know you like to DCA in. You've done it all bear market. That's like the premise of your whole, channel. Do you? When will you start DCAing out? Will sentiment be a factor as well?
So here's the thing about sentiment. It works and it's there. But I remember, like, even Ben talked about this too on the last one. He said, if you look at like the fear and greed index, and it's really, it helps pretty well with like fear. When you have extreme fear, it works better to buy. But when you have extreme greed, he goes, in all honesty, he goes, if you look back at extreme greed from the last cycle, you would have been selling from like 40,000 up, which I don't think is that bad, honestly. But I will say that a sentiment has to be in effect, because here's the thing about crypto, and this isn't going to be a very popular opinion, but what moves this market, in my personal opinion, it's speculation and FOMO, and just people just kind of trying to step on every other person to get ahead of everybody else. It's not like there are certain cryptos that are super duper important. It's not like it's electricity or water, and then of course there's people are screaming at the screen right now. I get it. I know how important it is, but in all honesty, 99% of crypto is garbage. And really what moves it, again, it's sentiment, like you said, and it's speculation. Now, there are some good cryptos out there. There are some good projects out there that are doing great things, and they're going to be fantastic. But the reason I feel like when there's such a run-up of price is because there's just natural exuberance and people get ahead of themselves, but the technology hasn't caught up. In 2017, it was the same thing. The exuberance and the outcry of people saying it's going to go to 1 million, it far exceeded the tech. There was no adoption. There wasn't institutional investors here. There was no Fidelity. There was no BlackRocks. There was no sovereign nations, investing into Bitcoin and making it an actual legal tender. There was no president talking about it, or even like the SEC really fighting against it that hard, because it wasn't even a big deal. Now, as we move forward, I think those narratives are being hit, but for most of the cryptos out there, the technology hasn't caught up yet, and it's going to take some time.
So I got a question, since you touched upon BlackRock and everybody, all these big entities coming in, these ETFs. Yeah. Do you think with these ETFs coming in and all these big players coming in that the cycle is off? We may never get another, after this time, we may never get another parabolic bull run? Because I'm kind of in the camp, from what I've been formulating, I'm kind of in the camp that with all these big entities and ETFs coming in, I think this very well may be the last parabolic bull run. Meaning these big entities, they don't want to see their portfolios or people's portfolios going up and down just so massively. I think there will be some sort of, like the stock market now. I mean, the stock market's out of control right now too, but we're not going to talk about NVIDIA, because NVIDIA needs to come over to the cryptocurrency world the way it's moving. But that's right. But what I'm thinking is, like, it's just a thesis, I'm thinking, well, like, they don't want these. It's so much money pouring in. We can look at all the inflows of the ETFs coming in, and as more money, more liquidity comes into the market, the more liquidity, the less volatility. People don't understand that as we, turn further along above $1 trillion market cap. So do you think with all these big entities and all these sovereign nations talking about it and ETFs, do you think this is the last parabolic, like super moving bull run, or what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know if it's the last one, but I feel like it's going to be a big one. So like everybody here is watching this video and is in crypto right now. Like, I got to tell you, you guys are all in the right place at the right time, and everything's converging right here. So even if this is the last time, can you imagine how great that would be if like you're telling your kids, FD, you're like, when Daddy, when he first got into crypto, there was no 2% shift in a 2-month time frame. That's boring. He goes, that's we get 20% a day. That's how we made all our money.
Right.
If it comes down, yeah. So if it comes out of that, I would say like this. I would think that there's a couple ways of thinking about that. One is people would look at that and say, yeah, it's going to be less volatility because that's what the people above want. However, there's another side to that, which is this. Before everybody got into Bitcoin, just a question for everybody watching, FD2, how much of us really knew about inflation and the Federal Reserve and what quantitative easing was and how we would take a look at depreciation and evaluations of money and fiat and the DXY? I never did that. I never did that.
Go down that rabbit hole.
Right. And now, because when I talk to family and friends, I'm like, can you believe inflation? They're like, yeah, prices are up. Well, you know why prices are up? Yeah, it's because of those greedy corporations. Seriously, that's what they say. Like these greedy corporations, which is a great thing why Senator Elizabeth Warren is keyed in on that little point, even though because people they don't understand about inflation and putting money into the actual system and the trillions of dollars that are actually being printed. So to get to the point, it goes like this. There's so much debt in the world. And of course, America, we're doing a great job. I think we're at 35 trillion excess of debt right now. There's only one way out of that. We're not going to be able to produce our way out of that. We're going to have to turn the money printers on. And then of course, if we have any kind of like bank failures, there's only one way to do that. We got to bail those guys out. They're too big to fail. So at some point, if we start bailing people out and bailing ourselves out, what does that mean? Well, we have massive inflation go up. So even if Bitcoin is looked at and people are like, yeah, it looks pretty good. But once they get it, and if it really does happen like that, they're like, you know what, we need to really think about Bitcoin because there's only so much and there's only so much that we can buy. And maybe even if they're like, you know what, there's only so much, if you want to go this route, there's only so much gold and silver we can buy to hedge against the inflation. Now we want to get even the hardest asset out there. I think that people will look at this and go, man, and this could be 5 years, 10 years down the road. So it's that coupled with the fact that altcoins that are out there, the Ethereum ETF might pop off, but all the different altcoins that are there. And I think that will be the next parabolic sense if, things, aren't as crazy with Bitcoin and the lesser that Ethereum. So that's my thoughts. I could be wrong.
So yeah. To compound upon that, with these, big entities and these institutions and all these ETFs coming on, do you think that over the years, I'm not saying like the next 1 or 2, that, they already been pushing for more regulation with these big entities now, I feel like they're going to start really, putting in these regulations, and a lot of these companies or projects or, tokens, coins, they won't exist. Like we've been, over in the bear market, we heard a lot of Bitcoin maximalists saying this is going to be, the VC money is gone, no more altcoin season, no more this, that. We were just like, come on now. We're not listening to that. Come on now. Yeah. We're not that far along yet. But we are walking towards that. Especially with these, like I said, Larry Fink and all these people coming in. I feel like a lot of more regulation will start coming in over time, which will cause the parabolicness, I don't think that's a word, but to come down, So that's one of the reasons why I thought, or why I think these huge parabolic moves. I think we might have our outliers, here or there, but we might have to redefine a bull market for the cryptocurrency market, because a bull market in stocks is like, oh, it went up 5% a year, it's a bull market, like so that's just one of that's just my thesis with crypto. So that's why I say all that to say this. That's why I'm trying to urge people to take advantage of this one now. Like, I can't predict the future, we can't predict the future, but if this is like the opportunity right now, this is maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity, like with this new technology and whatnot. And you were saying that 99% of most cryptos are garbage, which is true. But if you look at AI, do you think, AI been out since the 40s or the 50s or the 60s, and then we just really start having these massive breakthroughs within the last couple of years? Do you think that's something that crypto can possibly do soon, or do you think we're still a far way out from these massive things like AI?
It's a good question. It's a great question, and it's one of those things that I think about because there's really two trains of thought here. In the dot-com era, which I'm old, so I remember all this stuff. You could have like Lipton iced tea. They slapped the .com across their name, and their stock went up by 64% in a week. So it was one of those days where like you could just say, "Hey, we're part of .com. What do you guys do?" We have a .com. What is that? Doesn't matter. We're a .com. And it just kind of went down that rabbit hole. Now we see stuff like, and I feel like it's the same thing going to happen with AI. There's going to be crypto products that are going to come out and say, we're AI. Well, what do you do with AI? Well, we have machine learning. Well, what exactly do you do that's different between that and ChatGPT? What did we say? We're AI. And I think it'll go and kind of come down that road. However, I do believe that that in this sector specifically, it does make sense. And this is why, because for ChatGPT and OpenAI to actually work and any AI platform, you need massive computational power from computers, right? So we have to source this in some way. So, okay, first, if we need massive computational power, well, let's make a warehouse. We have to build a warehouse. We have to buy a warehouse. Then we have to store that with all the different computers and the hardware that's necessary to actually have this computational power to make AI actually function correctly and to actually expand upon that. Okay, that's a lot of money. And now you got to pay for people to actually service that. You got to pay for the electricity. You got to pay for the taxes right there. That's a real pain in the A. However, what if you do something like this? And this is where that DPIN there comes into decentralized physical infrastructure network. Let's just say, for example, FD. I don't know if you're a gamer. Do you play a lot of games? Kids play a lot of games.
Yeah, they play a lot of games. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So like if they have like, I mean, kids are great. They got if they have a really good PC and a gaming rig or something like that, or even a high-end laptop, and you got a graphics card. What if you could just download and become a node operator for something, whatever that could be? That could be render, that could be hypercycle, that could be theta, and say, hey, we're going to use the excess computational power from your computer, and we're going to take a fraction of that, and we're going to use that to sell to companies to run AI. And then to do that, we're going to give you render, theta, whatever, hypercycle token, and you're going to actually earn money from your computational power and all the chips that you're actually using right now. Would you like to do that? I would like to do that. And then, of course, it saves the other people a boatload of money and overhead. And let me tell you, I mean, if any kind of physical structure is extremely expensive, and then let's not even talk about taxes. So like, I can see how that part of it could work really well, decentralized everything, and then you push that power to one way, and you have a massive AI, which is decentralized, which is exactly how it should be. Because if there's one thing that scares the hell out of me, it's having a centralized AI project that pretty much runs everything, and they give the inputs to it, I mean, as much as they possibly can, and you're like, where's this answer coming from? That's why I like decentralization.
Right. So funny that you mentioned DPIN. I'm very, very, very bullish on that. I got like Helium Mobile. I got 2 phones. I mean, I'm just, it's like a money printer. You're not even doing, it's paying for its own service, and then it's also paying you. It's other projects that are kind of degenerate plays right now, so I don't want to say them online. But like you said, with the AI, one of the projects is actually you're running some type of node or something, and it's taking your information and feeding a AI, something that goes with AI, and it's a lot that's going on. And I do see DPIN as possibly one of the sectors or one of the narratives that could bring more adoption. I know a lot of people are bullish on gaming to bring mass adoption, which is like gaming is like the biggest thing in the world. Like, people don't understand how big gaming is, so gaming could be possibly one of the things. All it really takes is one game or one app, really, and then it'll bring mass adoption in, and then, like we said, AI. So I'm really bullish on DPIN, AI. But like you said, like right now, speculation and things like that are still running its course, because we had like OpenAI come out with that new technology, the text to video, and then all AI coins start going crazy. World coin just went up 100%, and then all these AI coins are still going crazy. So it's just like anybody can just be saying anything that dealing with AI, and the coin went up 100%. So definitely the crypto market is still in its, I don't know if it's in its infancy, but it's based on speculation, and it's based on fear and greed, and that's why we get these huge pumps and these huge dumps. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm looking forward to, and that's how we can make the money. Like a lot of people, it shuns them away from the market, but I'm like, that should bring you in. That's how you make the money. But once you do your research, once you do your due diligence, now you know how to play it. It's like a game. Now you know how to play the game. So it's like it's just one of those things where you got to put your head down and do your due diligence, which is what we did in the bear market. And why I think we're ready for the bull market. But once that greed kicks in, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows, man? I don't know. So, well, there's two things. First of all, talk to me about Helium Mobile, because I own it, but I don't have the node, and I don't have the Solana phone. How does that work? Because that's interesting to me.
So I got two phones. And I both have Helium Mobile. Really? So I'm earning double basically. So I got the service. You can get the service, and then they have an app with the service. So you get the service like $20 a month.
It's $20 a month, right?
$20 a month. And then you they map your area, all the areas that you're in. They map, and it uses the information for its network, and they pay you in mobile coins. So it's just basically paying for itself. So it's very, very profitable so far, and Helium, Mobile has been going up. So we'll see. I'm gonna just hold it, let them accumulate, and see where it takes me. But it's basically free money. Like, it's so many opportunities right now in crypto. Even like before we start going super parabolic, before things get too crazy, we're kind of still early. We're not at bottom prices. We're not at, bottom of the barrel prices or whatnot, but it's new projects launching. We have airdrops being farmed daily, new airdrops coming out, new projects coming out. We're at a good point. We're in a good place in the cycle. If you're in crypto right now, you're paying attention, you're doing your due diligence, you're doing your homework, you're in a good spot time-wise. Even if you have zero crypto right now, if you put the work in, you're in a good spot. But you might want to start accumulating soon. So, speaking of that, not financial advice, where do you think we are in the cycle right now? I was looking at a post, I think it was Elio. He was saying he had two scenarios. One scenario is the cycle is fast forwarded because we are kind of further along, before the halving, or we're just going to enter, like you said, a super cycle where all things happen. The dollar starts coming down, they start printing money, and then all these assets go parabolic with crypto leading the charge. Where do you think we're at in the cycle right now?
We're ahead. And I'm going to show you, if you could throw up my screen real quick. We did this last weekend, and we were talking about, because again, if we're going to take a look at, the 4-year cycles and such. So let's, first of all, we all know the 4-year cycles, right? So and everybody talks about, okay, it's going to be, you have the halving and then the all-time high. What I wanted to look at was, I said, okay, well, what was the all-time high in the previous cycle, and how farther did it drop to the next halving? So what I did was, instead of going, okay, halving in 2016, all-time high 2017, I said, okay, the halving was 2013. The all-time high was 2013, right? $1,100. How much did it drop between that last high to the next halving? So in this situation, it was July 9th, 2016 from 2013. It was a 42% drop. Okay, that sounds pretty typical, right? And if we're taking a look, we're like, well, how much did it drop, for that cycle in 2013 to the low point in 2015? It was actually 85% for Bitcoin. Now let's fast forward. Okay, how high did it go in 2017? 19,700. How much did it drop in 2020? It dropped 56%. So we had 42% to 56%. It's quite a bit, right? And then of course, in that cycle, 2017, 2018, it took 1 year, 84% drop total. Now check this out. How much did it drop from the last all-time high to the next halving? And we're not even at the halving. It's only dropped 23% if you take a look at those two time frames. So we're actually dropped, down to 15, I want to say it was 15,800, somewhere around there in 2023, somewhere around there, maybe 2022. And it went up. Now we're at 52,000. And some people will say, well, Rob, that doesn't make any sense because we're not even at the halving. Well, check this out. If you go 2 months prior to the halving, or the last thing I just showed you, in 2013 to 2 months before the next halving, or to the next the next halving, it was a 60% drop. If you do it again from 2015 to 2 months before the halving in 2020, it was a 60% drop again. And now what are we at? Only 23% drop, which means, man, we are way, way ahead of schedule for where we're supposed to be. And you can do this anyway. You can go to Ben's site and use the DCA tool. And if you DCA through this cycle to right now, you're up like 300, 400%, as opposed, depending on what you're actually, investing into, as opposed to back then. So when we hear about this, like, are we ahead? Oh yeah, we're ahead. But it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, we've got all these people that are here. We've got the right narrative at the right time. The economy is not awful. We're not in a recession yet. So, it's actually, we're like in the Goldilocks period.
Yeah, so that's a good point that you just said. We're not in a recession yet, and macro environments, macro things going on. Do you bring a lot of the macro analysis in when you are, coming up or formulating your thesis and whatnot? Because if we peel some layers back, we do. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Like, all the numbers that come out, I don't know if they're accurate or if they're not accurate, if they're fudged a little bit. A lot of people saying we're already in a recession. A lot of people saying it's Goldilocks. Do you think? Well, here, I'll give you what I think, and then I'll pass it on. I kind of think that, well, it depends. It depends. I know the interest rates are going to get cut. I don't know when. I know they're going to start getting cut fairly soon. It can be two possibilities why they get cut. Something breaks, something goes wrong again. The bank term funding program ends next month. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know what's going to happen with everything tightening up. So I kind of think it's going to depend on why they start cutting. If it's something that breaks, or if it's just something that they're saying, okay, now we've entered a period where we think we can just start bringing rates down because everything looks pretty much okay to bring them down. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're still in a period of uncertainty when it comes to the economy and whatnot?
Well, and here's another me and my talking about my mistakes. I thought, quite honestly, that we would be in a recession already. I thought this would be around the time. And when we talked about it, and I said, well, even if we go into a recession, because remember, there's a difference between the economy the recession and the economy and the markets, because the markets don't care so much all the time about recessions. And here's the point. If you take a look at how long is considered a recession, on average, it's 10 months. And you could take that from all the way going back until the 1950s. But usually what happens is that the market, the stock market, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, that actually improves, and it takes on average 6 to 7 months. So even though the economy is hurting, the market itself really is like, whatever, that's what it is.
Shrugging it off, right?
So when I think about it, and I'm like, well, could there be are we in a recession right now? The numbers, we know that the government is not giving us the right numbers. I had Stephen Rust. He's from Trueflation. If you guys haven't checked out that website, it's great. Trueflation.com. And it takes a look at like hundreds of different indicators, and it uses Chainlink as an oracle to pull in real-time data. And like, those numbers that the government has given, there's no way that's actually true. And the thought process is because there's an election coming up, and not to be like you said, FD, not to be like, a stereotypical type of person go, well, this could actually happen, but it does make a lot of sense how, all of a sudden these numbers are all magically not as bad as we think they are. So we'll see how that kind of runs its course moving forward. But again, I take a look at it, and I think even if we had, it plays a factor into it. But I think that even if we get into a recession, for the time frame that we have, again, if we're taking a look at the 4-year cycles, once we hit the halving, now you've got another 12 to 15 months, 16 months to go. So even if we get a recession, the market's not going to care so much. What'll happen? We'll have a dip. That'd be a pretty good time to probably pick up some cheap alts and cheap Bitcoin. People will be freaking out, but we won't be because we're used to that stuff. And then we just kind of ride it out until the next peak. And that's kind of where I've been for quite some time.
Yeah, same. So that's why like every time you speak, it's just like I'm speaking because I resonate with what you're saying so much. That's why I needed to get you on the channel, man. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on. So we'll kind of wrap it up soon. I did want to ask you about if you had anything new coming up or anything new. I see, they call you the master of the green screen. We don't see the green screen behind you anymore. You got to go get you a new green screen, huh?
It's expensive, man. You got to go to Fiverr, and I mean, I go to Fiverr and I got to pay those guys $10 because they're gouging me.
Right.
But I got to get these nice green screens. Yeah, that's what it is. Hey, you know what? I'll bring something to everybody's attention right now. There is so I got 2 channels, right? I got Digital Asset News, which is just the basics. I just want to give the news and not rock the boat too much. But I got a second channel, Dan DGen, which is the more risky stuff, FT. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's super risky. It's you're either going to make a good amount of returns or you're going to lose everything. It's usually that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Definitely. So I do have one. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna show you. This is what the next video is going to be about. Let me throw this up.
Okay.
And I was just talking to. It's called Minutes Network, and it's okay. Have you heard of World Mobile Token?
Oh yeah. I'm always going on there and scanning every day.
Yeah. So Mickey Watkins, right? Friend, like that guy. He's been in telecom for decades, right? Well, guess what? He's got a brother, and he's also been in telecom for decades. Young. He looks young to me, but he's been for over 10 years for sure. And what they're doing is how you make a phone call on your cell phone. Like if you're going to call somebody, right? I don't call too many people. I'm texting, but when I do have to call, I got to call somebody. I got to call the doctor. I got to call whoever to make an appointment. When you do that, there's actually a middle person that actually takes a cut and a fee for that. And what these guys figured out how to do is they're going to essentially cut those middlemen out, which is, I always like to hear these stories because this is essentially ripe for disruption. This has been going on for like 20, 30 years, 40 years of 25 years or so for the telecom industry. They're going to cut these guys out. How do they do it? They insert 2 lines of code into all the different apps that are out there. And of course, the apps would love to do that because it's going to be revenue generation for that. It's 80% less cost. They put it through. It's saving money for the individual. It's saving money for the carriers, and the people that are in the middle, they get X'd out. But they should, because it's cheaper, faster, and better. They're going to have a token that goes along with it, which rewards the node operators, because without a node to actually connect these 2 individuals, it doesn't work. So I'll be doing a deep dive on this one. And this is the most important part. So I did an interview with an official from the island of Samoa that works with the regulators there, that actually works in government and has worked between there and also New Zealand. And they said, we're excited about this because it's actually revenue generation for our government contracts. And I was like, this is going to be a slam dunk. Yeah. So again, this sounds great, but again, it's all risky because it's very new. But they're going to be working in partnership with World Mobile Token. And again, the people that are behind it, they've got over decades of experience in telecom. And it looks interesting.
Cool, man. Cool. I'll definitely tune in. I actually have to I didn't know you had I did, but I haven't subscribed. I would make sure I go over there and subscribe. I'm usually on your daily live streams, ransacking your chat. So we'll have to go over to the other one and get in like that. So before we get out of here, man, like I said, I appreciate you for coming on. All the help that you've given me over, the past few months. I definitely appreciate it. I know you're out, out and about where you're at. I'm actually about to start traveling. So I don't
Hey,
know, we're gonna hit these destinations, and I'll see where you're at one day, and I might fly up on you one day.
well, I saw your post. You had the, I think it was 3 or 4 different passports. Did you guys, you
Yeah,
and your
yep.
kids were going?
I'm gonna go to Dubai, and then I'm gonna go
Mhm.
to I'm going to go to Thailand, Bali, Japan. We're just gonna, have a nice little family adventure for the next few months. So we'll see where we're at, and then I'll hit you up like, hey Rob, where you at? We're gonna pull up. So
Well,
we'll see what's
shoot,
going
I'm in
on.
Puerto Rico. You don't need a passport for that. You just got to fly out
Oh
here.
yeah,
It's easy.
right,
Yeah.
right. So definitely, man, I appreciate you for coming on. If you guys aren't subscribed to Rob's channel, Digital Asset News, make sure you guys go over there and subscribe. And Rob, I'm gonna let you go. And like I said, I appreciate you. I'll probably you streaming later on today.
This will probably be the only stream today. I got
Okay.
stuff. There's other stuff. Well, I got to talk to you after this about the other stuff.
Okay. Well, we'll see
Behind the
you in a
scenes
minute.
stuff.
Okay. Yes, definitely. So, well, everybody, man, I appreciate you for watching. Looks like this is probably the biggest live stream that I've had. So everybody
Great.
who's new, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see everyone in a second. Thank you.
Bye.